Welcome back to part 9 of the FPS gun game tutorial. So go ahead and open your gun script, and at the bottom here we're just going to go ahead and paste this stuff in. Go ahead and copy it down if you want to, or just download the project from the description. So what these functions are going to do is they're enumerators, so they act kind of like updates. They're basically functions with an update. So the spawn instant trail is going to be the effect for when we shoot a instant raycast. The spawn miss trail is going to be for when we miss a raycast, and then the spawn trail is going to be for when we actually shoot a raycast over time. And make sure you go ahead and add destroy trail to the miss trail too, as well as the instant trail, because they're not object pooled right now, and we'll do that next. Then go to your effects, click trail, and this is going to give us a trail renderer to use. We'll call it bullet trail. Go ahead and reduce the scale to something like 0.1. That way we can reduce the scale even further with this red line here, and that's going to give us a little thin line to use as our bullet trail. I'm going to set I think the time is the life, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I'm going to set that to something short like 0.5 seconds. I'm going to go ahead and prefab it. And then I'm going to remove it from our scene. And I'm going to add a serialized field private game object for the bullet trail. And in fact, so I don't have to do this repeatedly on all of the guns, let's go into our player, and we can just use our player manager to get the bullet trail instead, and we'll make it public in the player manager so it can be accessed. Okay, and then we will go ahead and try to add our instant raycast effect. So let's see where the raycast is. We will do spawn instant trail, and we need our bullet trail, so player manager dot bullet trail. I think, is that all we need? And then we need the hit. Or spawn trail, spawn instant trail. Oh, hit dot point. And this needs to be a trail renderer, not a game object, my bad. There we go. Aha. And now let's add our effect from our prefabs to our player manager. And then adding this to bullets is much easier. All we need to do is find our bullet. So let's go to our projectile and then just plop the effect in. Set to 0, 0, 0. So now our projectiles have trail renders. Let's see if our hit scans do. I've done something wrong here. Let me figure it out. But also we have this issue where the line comes in out of nowhere because it's being called from our object pooler. So let's go ahead and fix that as well. So the problem with the projectile is that the trail render needs to be cleared. So in the projectile script, I'm going to, on awake, get component and children, trail render, on enable trail render clear. Let's also make sure we add it to the enemy bullet so it's not looking for something it can't find. So we also need to make the trail render enabled and emitting false on enable. And then we're going to do this coroutine called start time delay. And this is just going to wait 1 frame. And what that's going to do is every time the projectile is enabled, it's going to disable the trail render, wait 1 frame, and then re-enable it, giving it time to get from the object pool to the bullet. And now you can see the projectile or trail isn't messing up. But we still don't have visuals for hit scans, so let's get that working. Right. Well, for starters, we need to start this coroutine because it doesn't do anything. And we also need to spawn the bullet trail. So let's go ahead and go into our projectile and change this to, or not projectile, let's go to our player manager and change this to a game object instead of a trail render, so we get the game object reference first. And then we can get the get component trail render when we fire it. Now let's make sure we have plugged in our bullet trail because we've changed it. And now it should Yes, there we go. Now we have instant hit scans. Now let's add travel time hit scans as well. So let's go into our player and we'll call this our instant hit scan gun, and we'll call this our travel hit scan gun. And then on our player capsule, we need to add the gun to our gun switcher. And so for this one, we'll make the visual a different color. Then on our gun script, we're gonna need something to determine whether we are using a instant hit scan or not. So it's actually fine where we did our hit scan. So use hit scan is there. So under use hit scan, we'll just copy that. And we'll make one called use instant hit scan. And then if, let's see, if use instant hit scan, we will do the stuff we did for our instant hit scan. Else hit scan over travel time. We'll also paste the same thing, but we're going to modify it here. And this is going to be spawn trail. So let's, for clarity, call this spawn travel trail. And this requires the actual hit instead of the hit point. And we don't want to do the damage because we're not going to do it instantly. So actually we'll take that damage and bring it down here where it says do damage and put it in. And then it's going to do the damage after the bullet has traveled over a distance. And this is going to use the range projectile speed. So we'll just replace the range projectile speed with range speed because it will work for both. Or we can have a separate speed if we want, so to be more clear. So I'm going to do that actually. Hit scan range, hit scan bullet speed. Set it really low, something like 20 for now. And we'll put that bullet speed under the use instant so it's closer to, so it makes more sense. And then we also want to spawn the instant or the miss when we miss. So if hit dot point is null, we're going to spawn the miss trail at the hit point. Okay, and then let's turn off use instant hit scan on one of the hit scan guns, or not turn off use instant hit scan, not turn off hit scan. There we go. And I'm just going to move hit scan damage down here. There we go. And we can also put some headers here to separate stuff. So header projectile stuff, and then this can be shared stuff, and then this can be hit scan stuff. And that will give us some headers here to kind of see more clearly. And now we have hit scans with travel. For some reason our miss hit scan isn't working though, so let me figure that out. That's because we need something to equate for missing everything. So here on the miss everything, we will do miss everything equals the current transform position times that hit scan, or just times the what is it, the bullet range? Did we even set a range on this gun? No. Yeah? The hit scan range, there we go. And then we're going to use that miss everything vector when it misses everything. Nope. Still doing something wrong. What am I doing? Let's see, instead of hit scan point equals null, let's do else and then do our miss. And that should miss Raycast. I think that's what I did wrong. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So it's shooting in a direction, but we need it to go in the direction from the gun to that direction, if that makes sense. So I think if we add transform.forward here, that will give us the right direction. Yep. And so now when you shoot a Raycast gun and you miss, there is a shot fired for the miss, and you can modify the miss time if you want here to whatever works better for like instant and miss shots, if you want to like change it for different shots. Personally, I don't really care in my game, because when you're missing, you're not like, oh my god, the bullet's moving faster when I miss, but it's not when I'm, so, you know, people aren't really that vigilant. But yeah, so there's travel time hit scans and regular hit scans, as well as the trail rendering effects. Now let's make a new pool and call it the trail pool, and we'll basically just copy the ammo pool and replace the variables with the trail pool. And then we want this to be equal to the ammo count because it's going to go in tandem with ammo. And we'll call it just trail pool. And the prefab we want to be is from our player manager dot trail, bullet trail. There it is. And so now instead of instantiating it, we can get it from the pool. Also rename this object pool here to ammo object pool. And then let's add another object pool for the trail called trail object pool. Now let's replace these lines where we instantiate with get object from the pool. But now we're going to have this problem with our Hitscan guns because it's trying to get the trail from a pool. Also, I do believe, no, I guess our projectile gun can stay the same because it's not calling the ray function. We're also going to comment out these destroy lines now that we're going to be pulling it and save it. What we need to do is return the trail to the object pool. So go ahead and go into your enemy projectile, and so we don't do this to all the prefabs, we're going to unpack the bullet trail in the enemy projectile and unpack it in the player projectile. And then on our bullet trail, we're going to make a new script and call this bullet trail return time. And we're going to put that bullet trail return time on our bullet trail. We're going to make a public float return time. We'll set it to like 3 by default. And then we're going to use a wait for seconds coroutine and use the return time as the wait time. And then set the game object to set active false after the return time to return it to the object pool. And we also need to set the trail's transform dot position to the current transform dot position, as well as the trail's rotation at its current rotation. Let's go ahead and do that for all 3 of these there. Now if we look at our trail pool here, maybe not that one, which one is it? Okay, maybe it's this one. We will see them being returned. What's going on here? Oh, right. We need to change this to on enable and then return. And now, there we go. And last thing we want to do is maybe like add some effects. So let's make a new effects particle system and let's just scale it down real quick. And then we're going to turn the gravity on, set the gravity modifier to something like 0.5. And then we're going to turn collision on and set it to world. That way our particles fall and hit the world. And we'll set them to red. And we'll make this only like 1 second. It won't be looping. And this is going to be our blood effect. Very simple effect. Nothing too crazy. So we'll call this blood effect particles. And then in our effects, we will prefab it and delete it from our scene. Then go into our enemy cube, and on our health, we'll do a serialized field, private, game object, blood effect. And since it's only going to be called once, we don't really have to worry about object pulling it, but let's say you make a game with tons of enemies and there's lots of killing and stuff going on fast, you might want to consider object pulling the blood effect. But instead we're just going to instantiate it at the transform position and use the transform rotation too. And we don't want this to be happening a bunch. I guess we don't need a check once since it's going to destroy itself. Oh, right. And make sure we apply the effect. And now he dies and drops some blood. On our gun, since we don't need the trail pool if we're using projectile, we'll use if hitscan equals true and then get the trail pool. Spawn the trail pool.
Thanks for watching this video, guys. If you liked it, hit the like button. If you disliked it, hit the dislike button. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any more future videos.